Yo, 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 what's good, everybody? This is your man, Squalla. This is another episode of Always Everything with Squalla. We discuss everything always. And today I got a special guest with me. And if she would do the honors of introducing herself for me.
This is the one and only T Quest. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. So if you could give a little audience a little bit of background of who you are and what you do and your brand and everything.
Okay. Well, I am a recording artist. I am a radio personality, a journalist, a voiceover actress, a media consultant, a host, an anchor. Sometimes I may DJ, do some comedy, motivational speaker. I just do a lot in the music industry and in the entrepreneurship world.
That's cool. That's cool. So you said you do voice acting, you do radio personality, you do music, you do everything.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. That's really good, man. So as far as the radio show, tell us a little bit about your radio show.
Okay. Well, I've been a radio personality for 10 years now, and I've done different shows, done different platforms, and been on different stations from independent to online to FM to college, different states like Connecticut, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York. And it's been super awesome. But currently, I do a show called The T Quest Show with DJ El Nino, relatable, informative, yet entertaining. And it's super awesome. We have different guests up there from independent artists to mainstream to celebrities, chefs, authors. We're just here to converse with our guests and to get to know them deeper than what's on the surface. Like if you're a music artist, your music will speak for itself, but we really want to get to know you as an individual because we believe that everyone has an incredible story. Just take that right moderator to put it out there. But yeah, it's a great show, and it's on 10 plus radio stations, and actually on station Gotta Love Me Radio, home of the music and conversations that you want to hear. And we'll be owning a few more radio stations in the up and coming year.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So what station is your show on already?
Okay, well, let's go down starting with Monday. We are so on Mondays we are on CTU The Vibe 101, which is Connecticut, Gumbo Radio, which is in Louisiana, Live 504, which is in Louisiana. That's Monday. On Tuesday, we're on Two Fly Radio out of New York. Southern Soul Radio out of Mississippi. Wednesdays we're on Swag FM Radio out of Philadelphia, on WK 102 out of Kentucky. Thursdays is Strong Side Radio out of the Midwest, Arizona, Fleet Radio out of Arizona, His Cartel Radio, Florida, and Texas. GPS Radio, that's a Midwest station, and
That's
Trap
cool.
Radar Radio, which is Florida. And of course, Gotta Love Me Radio, originated from Connecticut, which is now residing in Florida.
That is what's up. That's
I give a speech, don't want to miss nobody.
yeah, man. You all that you everywhere. You everywhere. That's cool. That is cool. So like with your radio show, is like, is it is it talk radio or do you play music with your radio too?
Well, it's talk radio, but when we have musical guests, we will play their song.
Okay.
Before, when I used to have other radio shows, I did have shows with DJs and they'll play segments. But since we live in the world of virtual and everything's on social media, I didn't want to have get flagged all the time.
Right.
So now with the main show now, we only play the song of the artist instead of having the DJ play the whole set. And of course sometimes we get flagged, but we go back and edit or end up being muted, but we don't want to do a whole set because we don't want the pages to be blocked.
Right. Yeah.
So we don't want to push it too far. But if we did, it would be bananas because DJ El Nino is award winning and he gets busy on the ones and twos.
That's cool. So that copyright flag, that they do not play with that. They do not play.
It's so bad.
So
I've got flagged in my own songs before.
I have too. I have too. I have too. And it's like who sent that flag?
It's crazy.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. So how are you able to broadcast your show over so many stations?
Well, everything always results back to networking, and I'm happy to be a part of a Fleet DJs, Worldwide Fleet DJs, which them alone have a radio network of 60 plus radio stations. And I'm a part of that organization. I've been a part of it for like 6+ years now. And a lot of my colleagues have their own radio stations. So me networking and vibing, a lot of them already familiarized with the show, big fans of the show. And it was like, I have a radio station. We'd love to have the T-Quest show with DJ Nino. So, I check it out and see if it's a great fit. And then, we go from there, because I tell people, just because you have a platform does not mean it's the right fit for our show. It has to go together. We refuse just to be a slot filler, because that's not what it's about, because we respect what we do. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If you don't play our show on time, if you don't promote it, they'll be like, you know what? This was okay, but we gotta go.
Right,
You know what
right.
I'm saying?
So
Yeah.
other than that, so your show it gets picked up by the stations to where you still own it. You still own your show.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's cool. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how are you able to? Because like I'm fairly new in the game of podcasting and doing the talk and everything. So basically, how are you able to like still own like so the I obviously when you getting paid from the radio stations, so it's like where does the what do they own any part of it? Do they influence your show at all, or do you have 100% of well you do what you want on your show?
At the end of the day, no disrespect, but they would need me before I need them. So our initial conversation is, this is what DJ O'Neill and I do for our show. This is what we're popular for. This is what we do. If you want to collaborate, I'm letting you know that I send the show out weekly every Sunday. I'm not doing 24 hours for this. I'm not breaking it down in 3 segments so you can act. We're not doing any of that. This is what we do. Now, if you can rock with it, then great. If you can't, then we will respectfully not work together, because at the end of the day, I know a lot of people want to be on a lot of platforms for the exposure, but for us, it has to make sense. Make it make sense. And one thing we're not going to do is all this extra work.
Right.
If we're not being compensated for it. So it's all about having a respectful conversation so things can get done properly. But yeah, we let them know how we do. It's always an hour show. We send it in and we go from there. And just let them know. Just make sure you play my stuff on time. If you have a flyer, let me know. If you need pictures, let me know. If not, we are graphic designers, so we can design it ourselves. And if I'm always gonna promote the show, respectfully, you promote it too. So it has to be a business thing. Some people don't care. They be like, it is what it is. But this is not a hobby for us.
Right.
This is our job. Just like the streaming platforms, everything we do is monetized. Exactly. So we have to make sure the streaming and the promotion, everything is done the right and proper way.
I definitely understand that. Definitely. So let's talk about the origin of the T-Quest show. How did it all begin?
Okay, well, it all goes back to me being a radio personality, which started from me doing an interview. Back then, it was more on the phone. It wasn't virtual. Right. But they was like, they interviewed me as a music artist. And they was like, you have such an incredible voice and your personality is great. You ever considered doing radio? And I was like, of course. So my first show, it was by myself. I ended up being the radio personality, the PD, the DJ, everything my first time by myself. I was the only one in Connecticut from this platform. Shout out to Streets D Radio Network and shout out to DJ Scheme. And for them to start me off with so many responsibilities, it gave me a strong foundation to soar in the radio world. So when I start doing college radio, I was already familiarized how things went, commercial breaks and stuff. When I started doing FM, I was familiarized how it went. It changes a little bit when they have like commercials and sponsors. So I was able to get the experience in all different types of radio. So I was it's easier for me to maneuver, and then after a while, I started from Gotta Love Me radio show to now I have Gotta Love Me radio station. And then right before the pandemic, someone was like, "Do you still do radio?" I'm like, "I moved, so I haven't found me a new radio home." But I just started doing it on Facebook. You know what I mean? When they started allowing us to go live. And then after that, someone was like, "Well, I feel like you're like the next Wendy Williams or Oprah. You got to get back on the air. Figure it out. I'll help you program it." And I was like, "You know what? Let's do it." And then I just came up with the T-Quest show. And it was great from then to virtual to streaming like this to getting it back on radio stations. And it's been incredible the last few years. So I love it.
That's cool. That's cool, man. For real, like, and then they compare you to Oprah Williams. That means you definitely doing something right.
Sometimes you need to hear that because during that time, once I moved from Connecticut, that was my home, So I'm like, I'm in a new state by myself.
Right.
Do so just to hear those words, it really lit a fire in me to go back to doing something that I love so much. Even though I wasn't back at a radio station, I was still doing what I love with giving the message out to people. That's why I always tell people, I give you your flowers while you're here. You never know. The small encouraging words can just definitely change someone's life.
Definitely.
So that's what I'm all about. So kudos to him who did that.
So what's your favorite thing about being a radio personality?
The money. No, I'm just no, the reason why I say that is because when people invest in being on our platform, that means they trust that it's going to be worth the investment. Because we're always constantly dropping gems and giving them so much knowledge on whatever it is, business, music, or whatever. It's just such an experience for our guests. And I love when we tap into something that they wasn't ready for, but they always needed. You know what I'm saying? They're like, "You know what? I never thought about it like that." Or, "I'm glad you guys brought that up. That was great advice. Thank you so much." Because it's not just about asking generic questions for someone to answer. Like that whole mindset, I think it's boring and pointless. Like, what's the point?
Right.
So to know that we touch people's lives just from having a conversation with them is such a beautiful thing.
That's what it's all about, growing and building as a community. That's how I look at it. That's really why one of the reasons why I started my podcast anyway, to get an uncensored perspective or my perspective, and to be accepting and listen to other people's perspective on things as well, in a safe space to where you don't have to feel like, "Oh, if I say this, then this is gonna happen, or somebody gonna think of me this way." But that's one of the reasons why I do it. So,
hello.
How often do you listen to yourself? Like, do you listen to your own radio show and critique yourself?
Every day. Hello. Like, the show is great. You know what I'm saying? Like, the dynamic with DJ Nino and myself and then our guests, like, sometimes it's great. It's hilarious. It's really our tagline: relatable, informative, yet entertaining.
Right.
So I love the fact that we can watch certain shows or listen to it and still laugh and joke about it, or be like, "You know what, that was really deep what you said." No, but did you hear what you said? And at the same time, sometimes I like listen to it to be like, "You know what, that was corny," or "that was dry. I'm gonna make sure I don't do that ever again." Just to critique. Yeah. So we were better each and every time, because where the show is going, there's so many opportunities that's on the horizon, and I just want to make sure that we are ready for it, because our show is quite special.
It is. I listened to I watched on YouTube the interview you did with Soul For Real.
You like
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool, yo. That was
Thank
cool.
you. Shout out to them and their new music and coming back doing what they love. A
Yeah,
lot of artists are coming back, and I'm glad that we've had an opportunity to interview a lot of them, even on our show or the exclusive ones we do with our team on Zoom. Recently, we've interviewed Sierra, Mario, John B, Jada Kiss, Cardi B. Like it's just so many different people, and they're all just out here doing music and still want to know what the people how they feel about the music outside of just the social media world. So I love that they still respect our opinions as tastemakers of the music industry.
that's what's up. You getting all them big names. So how do you go about getting some of your guests on to your show?
Well, social media is my best friend. Because I'm always networking,
Right,
and I make sure that I'm always promoting the show, the different platforms, the stations, interacting with people, and we do so much. So we have different fans and viewers from all different angles, So
right,
sometimes either the guests contact us, sometimes they rep will contact us, A&Rs, record labels. There's so many different ways of going about it. Or even sometimes with our DJ coalition, if we do our celebrity corner or artists there, I will still continue to network with them and just see if they're available to come on our platform as well. And some of them be like, of course, and go from
right.
there.
That's cool. That is cool, man. I'm trying to get on y'all level, man. I'm trying to get up there.
You know, it's so hard. No, I'm playing, but you can definitely get there. It's a stepping stone. Some people say it looks so easy, but you gotta realize I've been doing this for 10 years.
Right.
So I've been through a lot when it comes to being on the radio, and it's the behind the scenes stuff that people don't understand. I understand that a lot of podcasters have risen, especially since the pandemic and everything, which is cool. But I'm like, we're not just pressing record and just winging it. Some people do it. Some people like that. Like, no, it's so much to it behind the scenes. You're not sure
Yeah.
if your guest is going to show up, if they're going to be on time, if they're going to be prepared. Is it going to be a dull interview or is it going to be a great interview? You don't know when it comes to weather if your service is going to be your signal is going to be strong enough to
Yeah.
go through the show. It's just so much to it that people don't understand and realize, and that's why I value time so much. Even on platforms, I'm like, what day, what time, what standard time? People like, oh no, it was central. I'm like, well, I put, you know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff is critical and people don't realize that. I'll be like, okay, what platform we're going to be on, where we're going to be live. I need to know so I can help promote it, so I can share it,
Right.
because I treat people the way I want to be treated. As a host, if you have a guest, it's a beautiful thing if they actually value that moment and want to share it with people so they can check it out.
Yes.
So when I am a guest, I'm like, just let me know where we gonna be at. Let me let my people know what's up, like, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely, definitely, definitely.
That's how it's supposed to be, or should be.
Right. I definitely in my little time because I really started this podcast like 2 years ago, like in the peak of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
But I was not consistent. I started off consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I did episode once a week. I was on it.
Yeah.
Then I did nothing for like a year and a half. It was just there. And I just thought about it again. I'm like, shit, what happened to that podcast? I'm gonna do it again. So now taking it a lot more seriously. I'll be watching YouTube videos on how to make it better. Cause at first when I first did it, it was strictly audio, just audio. And I wanted to do more because I actually looked up to Noriega and Drink Champs, what they do on Drink Champs. So I wanted to kind of model myself, not to be exactly like what they do, but some of the mannerisms and the practices that they have. So that's why at first I made up the background. I tried to look a little more professional and do it a certain type of way so you get a certain type of reaction.
Absolutely. It's crazy the elevation with the T-Quest show and like the visuals and everything. I was do like you. When it came to the visual parts, when Facebook Live and stuff, I started out audio. And that's not a bad thing because when people listen to the radio, It's
Yes.
audio,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
And back then I was making some nice numbers and views. I wish my page was monetized back then, but like them numbers was chunky,
Right.
and then we elevate to like green screen, and then
Yep.
me and DJ Nino, my partner in greatness, with him being so fluent within like the graphic world and the moving visuals, he hooked us up, and I'm like, wow. And then every few months, like, I got something for you. I'm like, woo, it's pretty.
That's
And
what's
it's
up.
it's kind of like first impressions is everything, and the way you present yourself is everything. So whether you're in person or virtually, you should be able to present yourself in a proper way. Now, of course, as graphic designers and visual, we always encourage people, if you want the moving backgrounds or the overlays, contact us to deliver. But at the same time, we're open and honest. If you have a clean background, it's not always needed. It's all about what you deliver. Now, if you chilling on the couch and chilling in the car, like
Right.
that stuff I can't stand. And now I'm like, I don't care if it's regular folks or celebrities. I tell them all the time. This one celebrity, I'm not going to mention his name. I was like, look, I want to interview you, but I saw you last time. You was in a barber chair. I get you busy, but when you come on the show, I need you to take some time when you could sit down somewhere
Right.
and then do the show. He was like, I got you, Quest. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, thank you. Because I get it. You want to squeeze it in, but I'd rather wait for you to squeeze it in so it can be done properly.
You get a
And
better
doing
product.
something when I don't even have your full attention because it's too much going on, especially with the distortion. Because even though the original taping is virtual with the T-Quest show with DJ El Nino, I have to strip that audio, give to the radio stations. It has to be clear. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I definitely know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's kind of like the same way for what I do. As the way I record it on Zoom, and I could upload from Zoom straight to YouTube. That's easy. But as far as put it on the podcast platforms, not all of them offer video. So it's the same. Got to do the audio and brush the audio up.
Absolutely.
So, what are some as a radio host? What are some of your basically? Okay, I'm gonna put I say it like this. As an advice to up and coming radio hosts, up and coming podcasters, what are some of the practices that you would say are must have practices as a host?
Okay. Well, for one, professionalism. It's okay to talk to your guests like they like your homie, hey, girl, how you doing? Once in a while, but at the same time, you still have to be professional. Because usually the end goal is longevity. So you got to make sure people are like, okay, you know how to have fun, but you know how to balance it with professionalism. Also, just like a job, interpersonal skills is very important. You have to have a personality. That's what they call it, radio personality.
Right.
Now, it's okay to be like with you, for example, it's okay to be monotone and cool because that's your personality. But it's all about how you do it that it works. With you got the vibe going with it, so it's cool. Some people's monotone be like, you just boring as hell. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why you got a show. Like, I'm about to go to sleep. You know what I mean? But it's all about doing it. And like you said, being consistent. Because once you have your fan base and they enjoy what you're doing, you have to make sure they know how to keep up with you.
Yep.
Well, I just record whenever. All right. So then the next time you randomly record, they're not going to be nowhere to be found because they don't know what's going on.
Right.
So if you're serious about it, treat it like a business, treat it like a brand. Get your logo, get your graphic designs, get your promo videos and all that stuff. Hello, you can get it from us. I'm right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, treat it like a business and a brand. And then remember to still have fun while you're doing it. Like I said, the ones who literally ask the same questions all the time, every guest. I'm like, do you really enjoy it? Or are you just programmed to just do it like this? Like, it's so, all right, so who's your favorite top 5 rappers? I'm like, do you really care? Like, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. It's so bad. It's so bad. And I just can't. But, you know, each his own.
That is funny, but sometimes it's relevant. The question is relevant.
It could
Sometimes,
be, but at least put some time into wording it differently. You know,
right?
like like I said, for example, who's your favorite top rapper? I don't really care people's top rappers. Like it literally, I can care less, right? But if I
Mhm.
was to ask a question like that, I could be like, okay, so I heard your music and it's different, you know? So I'm curious who inspires you as a rapper in the field.
Right.
Name some type of people that you look up to. Now, see, it's the same question,
Mhm.
but it's not the same generic way of asking it. You see what
Right.
I'm saying? So it's all about taking the time to switch it up a little bit, but a lot of people don't because they're lazy.
And that brings me to my next question for you. And it's a very similar question
Okay.
because I say I model my how I go off of Noriega and Drink Champs.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any radio personality or influencer that you looked up to or that you wanted to kind of be like?
Nope.
Nope, not at all.
I don't look up to anybody in that world. I just, because I just, you know what it is, to be honest? Starting off as a recording artist and being interviewed, I'm like, I wish it would have made me feel like this. I wish it made him feel comfortable doing this. I wish they would have asked me this, you know, and because I was so shy, like I shut it down on stage, right? But
Right.
then I was always so quiet. So it was awkward when they started interviewing me. But I'm just like, well, if they would have did it a certain way, maybe they would have brought me out of my shell when just talking to them. You see what I mean? So I took that to inspire me to be the personality I am today. But to put a twist on that, when it comes to other podcasts, for example, well-known ones, I do enjoy the Wendy Williams show. You know what I'm saying? I do enjoy the Breakfast Club. You see what I mean? And DJ El Nino definitely put me on to Drinking Champs and the Joe Budden podcast. So that's up there too now. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was not them, but I do enjoy them if I was to listen to other ones for sure.
So was being a radio host your dream job? Like, did you always want to do that in the back of your mind?
I always wanted to be me, and I knew I was blessed and gifted with many talents, and I knew a lot of it had something to do with the music industry and my voice and my opinions on things in life. Everything I do connects with one another. Being a superstar entertainer as a music artist will always be number one, but I have a voice, I have opinions, I have perspectives, and I get that out to the people as a personality and as a journalist. So I'm here to tell my story and to help people through all my talents, and they just happen to all connect with one another.
Mm. So, being a radio host, I understand that there are some differences as for different from being a podcaster. So, what are some of the struggles that a radio host goes to as far as being on the radio?
Well, one thing that we already touched upon is clarity. You know, because when you're on different platforms, even as a podcaster with the streaming platforms, is cool, but because that's like your thing.
Right.
When you're attaching to other people's brands and stations, you have to make sure you're on point. You know, that you sound like you were recording in the actual radio station. So you have to be very mindful of how it sounds when you submit it to the radio station. You know, that's why I tell my guests, don't do this. Make sure you're here. Make sure it's quiet. Make sure the sound is clear. Now, there's certain things DJ Nino edits in the volume and, you know, do the engineering a little bit, but he can't do it
Right.
all. You know,
Exactly.
it starts with you. So that's something that's very important. Sometimes from back in the day when I used to do certain stations, they have like commercial breaks and it's timed. Podcasting, you can, you know, switch it up a little bit, a little over, but
Yeah.
with them, no. You have to do what you do bring it to commercial. You got 15 seconds to do this. Go over here, bring it to the DJ. Be ready in about 5 seconds to go back there. So it's more programmed. With some podcasts, it's more of an option. With certain radio stations, there is no option. You just have to do it. So it's different levels to all of it, and it's interesting. You know what I mean?
So obviously the radio is set, it's scheduled, right? They have different time of them. So how do you structure your show in the way that you do your whole show, express everything you want to express in a timely fashion, while allowing your guests to also speak on whatever they want to speak on in a timely fashion?
Mm-hmm. Well, while I'm streaming, I start off on a platform called StreamYard. Mm-hmm. And once you press record, there's a timer on it. So during the show, I'm watching the time. Right. You know, and while we're just having a conversation with the guests, DJ Nina may play their song if it's a music artist, I'm still watching the time so I know when to wrap something up. I know when to go into the closing remarks. I know when to go in saying your social media. Now, if it does go over, because mind you, the original live, it can be as long as we want.
Right.
But if it does go over, I just use my programs to edit it down to an hour before I send it into the radio stations.
Okay.
No, so yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Mm-hmm. That's cool. Because I know a lot of people, especially like I'm from the DMV area. I live in Maryland right now, PG County, Maryland. I'm probably like 15 minutes away from DC. Mm-hmm. And in this area, most people don't really like the radio too much, for as far as reasons as they play the same song over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. I say these are my personal opinions. I can't speak for everybody in the DMV, but my personal opinions on radio is a lot of stations play the same songs over and over again. Some songs you can click to a different station and they playing the same exact song as the last. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or I noticed this a lot, at least for the local stations here, that they have an agenda and it's very clear what their agenda is. Like they don't just report. They report with their agenda. And that's some things I don't really like about radio. But that's just me per se.
Well, one thing a lot of people don't realize is whoever you think have pull does not really have pull, because they still report to somebody else. Just because the DJ is DJing on the radio does not mean he can play whatever he wants to play. You have to play what the program director tells you to play. You have to play the songs that are paying the bills, insert the commercials of the sponsors. So it's all the mechanical and technical work behind the scenes that the listeners are not familiarized with. So they get upset with the DJs playing the same thing over and over again, not realizing they're not the ones controlling it. How come they'll never play independent music? Only people that's complaining about stations playing independent music is independent artists. Yeah. The average listener does not want to hear songs that they're not familiarized with. Right. You know what I mean? And once again, you can't blame them. They have to report to somebody, and they are the ones that's really controlling it. That's why I tell people, instead of complaining all the time, find a solution. There's so many other stations. There's satellite. You know what I mean? There's Sirius. There's independent digital tracking radio stations like the ones we have. You know what I'm saying? There's other ones out there playing exactly what you want to hear. So no disrespect to FM, but if that's not your deal, instead of complaining, just don't listen. Listen to God Love Me Radio, home of the music and conversation that you want to hear, and you have nothing to complain about.
Definitely, man. So we're coming to the end of the show. So basically, I have one more question, and It's about your show specifically, and as far as your future plans for your show, how are you looking to it? So I know you said you were going to try to get on more radio shows. Are there any other ways that you plan on expanding your show?
Well, a lot of different radio stations are constantly hitting us up so they can syndicate our show. But like I said, it has to be the right fit in order for us to say yes. So you will definitely see the Tiqua show, DJ Nino, on other radio stations. As far as the streaming platforms, we're all on the basic ones like
Right.
iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and stuff. We're going to be switching up some things as far as the way the show is designed for the people.
Okay.
But I know people want more of like an in-house talk show type of thing, like Wendy and Oprah. But it's not time for that. It's not the time right now. We have so much going on with our other businesses that the show is special. And I'm just excited about it and just looking forward to more fans, more followers, more viewers, more guests, and to really be a popular show like Drink Champs, The Breakfast Club, the Joe Budden podcast, because it's definitely up there when it comes to what we do. So they just got to follow us and support us and let other people know about our greatness. And
Y'all need to bring your show to the DMV area. Give us something different.
Well, that's the thing. It's so funny, right? I'm gonna say it real quick. I got so many different things, right? They be always giving us different topics or people we should interview or suggestions, or you should be on here. You should go on the Ellen show, the Steve Harvey show. You should do this and that. I'm like, you know what? As a fan and supporter, you can do your part too. So if you feel that it's a certain station or area that needs our presence, right? You can contact them, get some information, get an email, get a contact number. You can ask us for our ear check, somewhere for them to check out. And you never know what can happen. Because at the end of the day, we all have to work together. Let's bring in the content and the listeners and viewers to help us get it out there to the masses.
I never knew you could do that. I never knew you could request the whole show for the radio. I never knew that.
You know why? Because no one even think about it or to try. Because think about it. Someone has to fill the slots. Like right now, the Breakfast Club, right? Angela Lee left.
She did.
So if you guys have a host in mind that they never even thought of, for example, if y'all say T-Quest and they hear a lot of people saying it and keep saying my name, and then all of a sudden the people in charge start checking me out, like, it should be a great fit, then that's the viewers and stuff helping us. You know how people do like GoFundMe's or petitions and stuff? It's the same way.
Okay.
We just gotta put in the work.
It definitely makes sense. It makes sense. I just had never thought about it that deep. I just never tried. You always think on the radio to request a song, maybe request a guest. Never thought to request a show. It's crazy.
Never know.
So do you ever think your show would, do you ever want to put it on TV?
If it's meant to be, it would be. But sometimes I don't think about putting it on TV because, like I said, we have a lot of businesses that have a lot of dreams and stuff like that is like a day-to-day, all day. And being a radio personality is one of my most popular talents right now. But I'm not trying to have it control my whole entire life. So I don't see jumping into that 5 days a week, 7 days promo. Like, no, that's not happening. Because if I want to go and record a whole album and go on tour, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't. I got to go back on my couch on Monday. Like, no. But we shall see what happens in the work. Just like with FM, some of them I turned down because I don't want to talk about pop culture 24/7. I don't want to be talking about other people's lives 24/7 when I'm still trying to live my own. But you never know. We'll see what happens. Let's see if the right check and contract come around.
So you're not opposed. They say you open to it under the right circumstances.
Yeah, but we'll see. Maybe a season. One season.
Hell yeah. I hope you get everything you looking for, man. Definitely,
Oh,
definitely.
thank you.
And
I appreciate that.
now that we coming to the end of the show, I really appreciate you for coming on my show. Thank you so much, and you've been very informative to me as a podcast. So I'm learning, and you're part of my learning process. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'm here anytime, and I appreciate you taking the time out to have me on your show. I value time, and I appreciate that you respect what I do as a personality to have me on your platform.
Definitely, definitely. Thanks a lot. And one more time, can you tell my people where they can find you?
Of course, this is the one and only T Quest, and you can find me on all social media platforms at T Quest GLM, and download your T Quest mobile app in your Google Play Store and your App Store.
Definitely, definitely. I appreciate you. Thanks a lot.
Not a problem.
All right, man. You have a great one.
You too, love.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye bye.